Why do we pray? Each person's prayer is their spiritual accent that only God can interpret. First of all, the most important things you need to know right here, right now, about prayer are as follows. It's personal, it takes practice, and it positions you for eternity in heaven. Most of you all know I love alliteration, so I made it kind of easy for you. Today, I want to talk to you about how prayer isn't just part of your relationship with the Lord, it is your relationship with the Lord and all of heaven. So let's dive in. Did you know that there is and only ever will be one of you? Your DNA, your specific structure, will never be repeated in another person. Well, okay, you probably knew that. But how often do you represent that? I want you to take this personally. If every single person lived their life with the intent of being wholly themselves, it would be a pretty different world that we live in. What does this mean for humanity? More importantly, what does this mean for you? And how are you going to let this information transform you? Let's get personal, shall we? Real talk? You are broken. I am broken. Everyone is broken. I'm being very direct because there's no reason to dance around the emotions of it all. We just have to go through it. We have to first accept this reality that we live in a broken world. Just like our biological makeup is personal, our brokenness is also very personal and customized. But because we are all broken, we all need healing. I mentioned back in my Holy Saturday reflection that healing is the bridge that closes the gap between the broken and the healed. Well, Jesus provides us with everything we need to build that bridge. Now, when you're planning to propose to your significant other, speaking from experience, of course, there are about 1,800 details to consider, give or take, but there's really only one that matters above the rest. Who are you asking into this sacred, long-term bond with you to create a combined life with and take on the world together? Who is this person that you are inviting into a deeper relationship than any other human being in the whole wide world for the rest of your lives? You should also probably have an idea if they're likely to say yes or no, but I guess you don't have to, since rejection is a part of life too. But that's another thing. When you are proposed to, that's a very obvious sign of the other person's love. Chances are they're not going to go through the trouble of asking such an important question if they don't love you, unless they propose to you on the same day they met you. If this happens, please say no. At least give yourself time to sleep on it, and then 5 years later you can see how you feel about it. But generally, if the relationship is healthy and mutual, this is one of those peaks, the first of many important days together. The Lord has a proposal for you. This is a proposal of a sacred long-term bond where you will take on the world together. God has invited you into a deeper relationship with Him that will last forever and ultimately lead to your salvation in heaven. He created you in your mother's womb, in His image and likeness, with your personal gifts and talents, and made for relationship. His invitation could not be any more straightforward. Picture His Son crucified on the cross for your eternal salvation. This is the biggest sign of God's love for you. He loves you for the person that you are, and He wants the absolute best for you. He waits for you to RSVP, to accept or decline His offer. It's personal, it's intentional, and what is a relationship without those fundamental ingredients of trust, communication, and sacrifice, to name a few? Prayer is our response to God's love for us. What is prayer without trust, communication, and sacrifice? You should know I've spent some time putting together these few minutes for you, and I consulted with a few of my most favorite priest friends. One of them, Father John Solomon, told me this: the simple answer of why do we pray is because we are in love. Someone very special loves us, always has, and hopefully we're taught that from a very young age. Our spiritual life is a constant giving of ourselves over to Him, of subjecting our will to His. That's hard, and that's why sometimes we shy away from prayer, because it requires something of us. We can't love God without sacrifice. The definition of love, my favorite definition of love, is to will the good of the other. You may hear lots of different interpretations, but when you pare it all down to why do you do the things that you do for the person you care about, it's because you want the absolute best for them. Sacrifice is hard, but more than once, if you love someone, you are going to make those sacrifices to intentionally include them in your life. It takes determination and discipline, but those things grow out of love. Over the 5 or 6 years that I played softball, I had all kinds of different coaches and different teammates and different enemies and different snack moms, and I eventually played all the different field positions, except pitcher because I wasn't allowed. But it's okay, I'm not bitter. But it was always the same ball game. And you know that saying, practice makes perfect? Well, one of my coaches during my last season told me that this saying is garbage, because if you practice poorly, you're not going to get better and you'll never be perfect. Instead, it's perfect practice that makes perfect play. And this stuck with me, well beyond my softball years. It's true though, isn't it? Think about playing an instrument, or playing a character in a movie, or playing a role in someone's life. If you go to practice your saxophone, your lines, or your motivational speeches poorly, then you won't see positive results. You will continue to play flat, to forget your lines, and to not have an impact as a role model. But I would see my coach's revision to this age-old saying and raise him another revision. I don't think perfect practice makes perfect play. I think purposeful practice makes for perfect play. How does one pray on purpose? Father Matt gave me some insight. It takes practice. The goal is to pray every single day, hopefully multiple times a day. But this is not a toothpaste commercial. I'm not going to tell you that you must brush and say the rosary every 17 hours, or say the litany of trust and floss after every meal. Although, just kidding. The way you pray is not going to look the same as how I pray, or how your mom prays, or how my cousin prays, because he doesn't and you need to. It's about finding routine and ritual. A regular day has natural breaks for prayer: morning, noon, night, and meals. And then there's Sunday, where you should just rise at dawn and pray straight until dusk. But after some trial and error, you can easily pinpoint those times in the day where you can dedicate to prayer. For me, I've been trying to pray during my homework breaks. Nothing crazy, like 3 chapters of Psalms at a time, but something simple, like, God, thank you for another day of life. And that's it, and I can be done. But clearly I like to talk a lot, so I'm never done. I'll go into the whole, oh, I'm so thankful for this person and that person, and then I'll list the names of people I've met since birth. This is just one of the new ways that I've adapted my prayer life since coming back home and having a drastically different life schedule from when I was in Towson. This means that prayer is going to be changing, just as you and your life change. It is always possible to pray. The best thing you can do is be intentional about having a place to do it. Under your favorite tree, sitting in your car, not driving, just having a space to yourself, your bedroom, wherever you feel comfortable. The next best thing you can do to enhance your prayer is to eliminate as many distractions as you can. Put your phone on silent and have it across the room, or in the back seat, for a full 10 minutes, and buy a watch to keep track. The first few times you do this, you might feel like you're just saying 40 Our Fathers until the time runs out, and that's okay. That's the reality. Prayer is not easy. You will have times of dryness, and even disappointment in prayer. There will always be distractions. Now, think for a minute about any goal for your life. It can be faith-based, it can be career-based, whatever achievement you desire. If it's something that is that important to you, you would work your butt off trying to reach that goal. You would be so on fire and determined to get to your destination that you would practice for it on purpose, without anyone forcing you to. But even fiery enthusiasm can run low, and that's where discipline kicks in, as our backup power source. Discipline is that voice in your ear saying just one more push-up for the umpteenth time after you feel like your face is going to fall off. It's hard work, but if you truly care about something, about reaching your goal, you will have determination in your heart. You will be naturally inclined to do whatever it takes to get there. We all have a destination for heaven. We're born with it, which means we're naturally inclined to seek out that straight and narrow path. As much effort as it takes to stay on that path, when we try to detour, it takes a lot out of us and out of who we are. We pray because we follow Jesus, and if we're not praying, then we're no longer following Jesus. 1 Thessalonians 5:17 says, "Pray without ceasing." But what is prayer and what does it do? That's up to you and how you choose to apply yourself. I was listening to a Father Mike Schmidt's talk the other day, and he talked about prayer, and he said to his audience, to what degree do you believe that prayer makes a difference? If you're struggling with prayer, then it's a struggle of faith, of love. Because if you truly believed prayer made a difference, you would do it every time. You would make it the priority of the day. He's saying that prayer, faith, love, and our relationship with God all go hand in hand, Prayer is life-giving. It is an affirmation of love, and it instills hope within us. I'll leave you with this. If you can know, in the depths of your heart, and in the depths of who you are, that you desire Jesus and salvation in heaven, then you can trust that prayer makes a difference. The next question to ask yourself is, what difference do you want it to make? What are you trying to do with your prayer life? Prayer unites us to God and to His perfect will for our lives. It gives us strength to center ourselves around Him. Through Him, we come to know ourselves better. And the revelation of ourselves shows us many things, including how we are broken, our fears, our anxieties, the stuff that makes us uncomfortable and reach for a napkin, our mess. The first time I met Jason Everett, who is my favorite speaker because he gave the talk that completely turned my life around when I was in high school, I was so overcome with all of the emotions, and I just opened up my heart and showed him a piece of it. And just when I thought he was about to call for security, in the middle of this crowded, buzzing place, he gave me this analogy of his family at a park. He said he was sitting on a bench with his infant son, and the older kids were running around on the playground. And then suddenly the baby spit up all over Jason and all over himself and started crying. And Jason said he pulled him in closer and held him and told his little one, "Daddy's here. Everything is going to be okay. You're okay. I've got you." He called out to the other kids and said it was time to go now because he needed to take care of this mess, to change the baby's clothes and his own. But this is the way God handles our mess. He pulls us closer to Him. He comforts us with His word. And He takes us with Him to get all washed up. He takes on our mess. He loves us for who we are, a beloved son or daughter. Prayer is our surrender to the Father, where we let Him into our hearts and cleanse our souls. Are you going to let Him transform you and your heart and your life?